Hi everybody, Dave from the Polypad team here, and this is video 2 in the series of videos about how to author drag and drop and matching activities using Polypad. If you missed part 1, I'll put the link in the comments. Go check that out first and then come back to video 2. We left off in part 1 where I set each of these drop zones to have a tile limit of 1, but when I try to put another word inside of this drop zone, the first one gets moved up to the top. And what I'm going to show you how to do in the second video is change it so that the one that you put in goes back to where it started when you try to put 2 tiles inside of a drop zone. In order to do this, we're going to create 4 new drop zones at the bottom here where those 4 words are going to start. So I'll go into authoring mode. Remember, there's this toggle to go in and out of authoring mode under the settings tab. There's also a keyboard shortcut of Command-Shift-A. So I'll do Command-Shift-A to go inside of authoring mode. I'm going to hold down the Shift key to select all 4 of those drop zones. I'm going to copy them and then just drag them down here. So there are those 4 of those drop zones. And I'm going to put these words in each of the drop zones. I'll go from smallest number of sides to biggest numbers of sides. Okay, so now all 4 of those words are starting in a drop zone. I'm gonna format those drop zones in a bit so they don't look like those exact same rectangle. It doesn't look great right now with this rounded text box in a rectangular drop zone. We will get to that in a moment. But now these 4 words are inside of a drop zone, and there's a toggle in authoring mode I'm going to turn on that's called Stay in Drop Zone. And I'll show you what that does after I turn it on. So I'm going to select these 4 tiles that are the text boxes. I held down the Shift key to select all of them. I'm going to go to the More Tools menu. And in the authoring section, there's this toggle called Stay in Drop Zone. So I'm going to turn this on. And what that's going to cause is these tiles, it's going to only allow them to live in a drop zone. And if I try to drag and drop them not inside of a drop zone, they'll go back to where they started. So let me show you that outside of authoring mode. All right, so now if I take this triangle and I try to drop it like over here, you'll see it'll go back to that drop zone. If I try to drop this over here, it goes back to the drop zone. So those are set to stay in drop zone, and it's going back to like its home drop zone. So at that moment where I turned on the toggle, the drop zone that the tile is in is being saved as it's the drop zone that the tile should go back to. So now if I put the triangle one here, and I'm like, oh, that's actually the pentagon, you'll see now the triangle got sent back to its home drop zone rather than being sent above it before I turned that toggle on. So now I can do something like this. And then if the hexagon goes here, the triangle continues to go back to its home drop zone. There we go. I've been doing drag and drop. I can also do click to stick. So if I click on this triangle and then I click here, it'll send it to that drop zone. Great. Okay, so let me get these back to where they started. So you can see, even though they've been in a drop zone, when I let go, they're going back to their home drop zone. And I'm going to format these a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'll go in authoring mode. I'm going to add a corner radius to those drop zones. So I think I actually want to check the corner radius of my text box. It was 0.2. So I'll do the same on these drop zones. So let's make this corner radius of 0.2. I'm actually going to make these a little bit bigger. Let's just go down a little bit. And down a little bit. We could decide if you want them to be the exact same size as the text box or a little bit bigger. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's okay. I'm happy with that. And now I'm also going to change the color of these drop zones. So I'm going to make it, there's the fill color. Maybe we'll fill it with like, actually, I don't want to fill, but let's make the stroke color like a blue. And the focus color, let me show you what the focus color does. Notice as I'm taking this and I'm dragging it around, there's that fill color. And so the focus color, let me select all of these. There we go. The stroke color is that blue. The focus color, I'll make like a red just to show you what that's doing here. So now there's the blue is the stroke that is around it before I am clicking and dragging a tile. And as I start to drag it, notice that the focus color is that red. It's showing me the places where that tile can go. And the fill is a transparent shade of that red. All right, so I'll go back into authoring mode to show you again what's happening here. This fill, let me just make this really clear. I'll make this fill like orange. This is not what we'd want to do, but this just shows you the difference in all the colors. So the fill will stay that orange until a tile is over the drop zone, and then it'll change to a transparent version of that red. All right, so that orange does not look great. So I'm going to make the fill just back to that white. I'll keep the stroke this blue. I'll also make the focus that same blue. I kind of like that. So now as I drag and drop it, you can see how that works. Also, if I click on a tile and then I move my mouse over the drop zone, you'll see how that changes as well. Okay, the last thing I want to do is I don't actually want to see these rectangles here, right? So let me just move I need to go into authoring mode. All right, so I'm going to move these out of the way. And one option that I like is just to make these drop zones invisible. So I'm going to go to the more tools and see there's a visible toggle. Again, I held down the shift key and I selected all 4 of those drop zones. I'm going to make them invisible. I'm still in authoring mode, so I can see them here, but let me put those back. And now when I go out of authoring mode, you can see those text boxes or those drop zones are invisible, but they're still there, and these tiles are still set to stay in drop zone. So if I try to put it anywhere else that's not a drop zone, it'll go back to that drop zone. Even though it's invisible, it's still there in the background. So now that allows me to do something like this. Oh, that's not what I want. And as I'm doing it, those tiles are all going back to their drop zones. All right, so let me just go back to where we started. The final thing that you could do is those, let me go back into authoring mode. Those drop zones that were invisible, I could format those. Let's do a corner radius of 0.2. We want to make them a little bit smaller. Let's say I actually want to make these like the same size as the text box itself. Right, so let's see if that looks pretty good. That's like the exact same size. So now I'm going to delete all of these. Because I'm deleting them, I'm going to have to turn back on the stay in drop zone toggle, because remember when you turn on that toggle, it's connecting that tile to that drop zone that it was in, and I've just deleted those drop zones. But now I can take this one, and I know that these are the same size as those text boxes. I'm using the arrow key to space these out in the same way. There we go. And maybe I'll add a little fill to this as well. Let's do that same fill of 211. 211, 211. That's the gray that I used in the first video. So now if I put these back in here, I need to go back in and redo the stay in drop zone toggle. So let's turn it off. Let's turn it on. Now that is committed these tiles to the drop zone that they're in. I go out of authoring mode. Those aren't appearing, and if you've been following along and you understand why they're not appearing, is remember I made them invisible, and I just changed the like styling of those drop zones, but I forgot to make them visible again. So I need to go back into authoring mode. I'll move these out of the way, hold down the shift button and make them visible now. There we go. Put these back in. All right. Command Shift A. And now what I kind of like about this is you can see where those words came from. So now if you're doing something like this, you can see that it's going back to that drop zone. Just a matter of preference, whether you like the invisible drop zones, whether you like seeing what's there. I don't love the black stroke, so maybe I would go do, I could do a thicker gray stroke, maybe something like that. Looks a little bit nicer. I don't know. You could style it as you want. All right. Feeling pretty good about this. I could preview it, and I like how this is working. I don't like that I can move these around, so I'm going to lock those, and I'm going to turn off all of the other options for students on this Polypad. We don't want them adding other shapes or number tiles or fraction bars, so let me show you how to do that, and that'll be the ending of video 2 here. All right, so I'm going to go back into authoring mode. Let me go back into authoring mode, hold down Shift, and I just want to make these polygons fully locked. So let me make these locked, go out of authoring mode, can't even click them, can't move them, can't do anything with them. So those are locked. And so now I'm going to talk about how to turn all these things off here at the bottom. So I don't want to see the tile sidebar. I could uncheck these and I could go in and check the ones I want to be on or off, but in this Polypad, I just want them all off. I don't want any tiles available. We don't need undo redo on, that's over here. We don't need students to be able to choose a grid or pinch and pan. That got rid of all of those. And we actually don't need them to be able to sketch or add a text box or an equation or change the color of things. So I've turned all those off, go out of authoring mode, preview, looking pretty good. Right now we just have this nice drag and drop activity. I could certainly add instructions at the top. I could add a title to the screen. If I wanted to add the instructions as a separate component, I could convert this Polypad to a partial screen component and add some instructions here, something like that, and then preview it. And there's the drag and drop activity. I can make this wider so there's a little bit of white space on the sides of that Polypad. Let me delete this component. Done. I'm going to convert this back to a full screen Polypad. I've noticed this is going to bother me that these aren't totally centered. So let me, I'm still in authoring mode, which is nice. Now I turned off pinch and pan, so I'm trying to zoom around here and I can't. So I'm going to turn this back on for a moment. I'm going to pinch and pan. I need to move these out of the way, hold down Shift to select all 4 of these, get them centered a little bit, and then put these back in. That's going to make me feel better. There we go. Turn off pinch and pan. Turn off authoring mode. Hit preview. Looks great. All right. This is the end of video 2. We talked about how to get these to stay in drop zones. We add some styles to the drop zones, liking how this is looking. In the next video, in part 3, we're going to talk about validation, how to provide some validation that students can see. Did they match it correctly or incorrectly? How to add validation that you can only see as the teacher in the teacher dashboard inside of Activity Builder. So if you're interested in adding validation to these activities, come check out video 3. I will put the link to that video in the comments as well. Thanks very much.